Hello, everyone. My name is Naima King, and I am a resident assistant here at the illustrious Norfolk State University. And I am taking the time out today to talk to you all about why voting is important. So, for my take, I've actually voted at least 3 to 4 times, and I actually had the honor of, absentee voting for this 2020 election. As a resident assistant working with freshmen all day, I actually was able to kind of pour into them and tell them, the importance of voting. Three reasons why voting to me is important. For one, it allows your voice to be heard, and for us to be able to really get the change that we deserve and that we need, we have to vote, and not just for the general election, for your mayors, your senators, your House representatives. Those are the people that make the changes, so that when it gets to the president and the vice president, laws can be passed. And until we get more of our generation or my generation to understand that concept of it's not just the president's job, baby, which is why they call them the three branches of government, because they must check each other so that one does not have more power than the next. Secondly, I believe voting is important because our ancestors died for us to have this right. So I just feel as though we are giving back by utilizing that same right that, they died for. And lastly, I believe voting is important because it's a very empowering process, at least to me. I can't speak for anybody else, but I do feel empowered. And, when you're watching the polls and you're watching the election and you see who you voted for, you be like, man, I'm in that percentage. So next, I have a couple of fellow colleagues of mine that are going to speak on why they believe voting is important, as well as some solutions as to, getting my generation to, vote some more. So stay tuned. Good morning and welcome to Naima's segment on why voting is important. Can you please state your first and last name for the people?
My name is Isis Jones.
And what is your classification?
I am a sophomore.
And what is your major?
Political science.
Today I'll be asking you a few questions regarding the importance of voting. As a matter of fact, did you vote in the 2020 election?
Yes, I voted as an absentee for my home state, which is New Jersey.
Why do you feel as though voting is important?
Voting is important because it helps people get their voices heard at a higher level, and it helps get things done because things don't change unless people voice what they have to say.
Exactly, and I agree with you 110%. And lastly, how do you feel we can get our generation to, vote more often?
The only way to get our generation to vote more is if they actually invest more time into learning about politics and how it directly affects them, because a lot of people believe that voting for president doesn't directly affect them, so why do it when it ultimately does come down to it affecting you. So it needs to start with them getting politically
active.
Yeah,
exactly. Well, Ms. Jones, thank you for your time. Welcome to Naima's segment on why voting is important. Can you please state your name for the people?
Hi, my name is Claude Flynn Jr.
And what is your classification?
My classification is a senior, 2 semesters left.
And what's your major?
My major is electronic and computer engineering technology.
Can you tell me, did you vote this election?
Yes, I did vote this election. I voted 3 weeks ago, absentee vote.
Claude, why do you believe voting is important?
So I feel like there are like two sides to that question. So the first side, people that look like us, African Americans, our ancestors and people before then, we weren't able to vote, just walk us to the polls with our own leisure. We had to fight for years and years and years, and the state that we're in now, it's just like all of us have to work together, because like we see the type of hierarchy that we have, and that's only going to last for so much longer. So voting is very much important because everyone has different views, different opinions on everything. We just have to be able to come to one main agreement for one person to mesh all those views and those understandings all together at once.
Absolutely.
But then the other portion is you can vote and you can vote and you can wish whoever is going to be up there, but then at the same time, personally, each and every single person has to continue to, try to elevate themselves, within their own communities, within their own personal life, or, whatever they got to do, because, you can't just depend on a president to help build you up and, to just throw you money, like just a stimulus check or whatever. Like that $1,200 is only going to last you, but for so long, people make $1,200 in a day. So it's just like, you have to, work on yourself before, you start bashing anyone else.
Absolutely. And lastly, Claude, how do you feel that we can get our generation to vote more?
I mean, so like we kind of just seen it just now, like the people that have voice, especially, African Americans, minorities, or whoever that are like famous that we see on TV all the time, because like as of late, like, like people don't really talk about voting like that, because like we've had a decent president in office, but now it's just like we've seen what it is like to be at our very low, like to be as low as we can get. So it's just like now, like people have to use their platform, people have to like everywhere I go on social media is a voting like little symbol or whatever. So just like social media, like this, just like TV or whatever, like if it's in your face all day, like it's eventually gonna turn into some action.
Well, Claude, thank you for your time. I really appreciate you. Thank you.
I appreciate it. Go Mom.
Hi, welcome to Naima's segment on why voting is important. Can you please state your name for the people?
Shamel Singleton.
And Shamel, what is your classification?
A senior.
And what's your major?
Kinesiotherapy.
So, Shamel, did you vote this election?
Yes, I did.
Why do you believe that voting is important?
Personally, I believe that you should be the change that you want to see within your community. Time and time again, you got more so the younger generation that say voting doesn't mean nothing, their vote don't count, everything is rigged, when in actuality, it's not. If you want to sit in the same situation that you've been in, whether it was the past 4 years, past 8 years, then honestly, you're part of the problem. So I believe that in order to see change, you have to vote for not only on the presidential election, but Congress, the House of Representatives, and your local representatives. And that's why I believe voting is important, because they have the power to reach the higher ups in order for us to see the change that we want to see.
Absolutely. And speaking of the younger generation, how do you believe we can get more voter turnout for future elections?
As far as millennials or Gen Z goes, I feel like you have the people that's low class, in poverty, the ones that don't believe whether or not anything is going to change as far as voting goes. I feel like as leaders, the leaders should go into those communities and they should hold seminars within those communities as to why voting is important, as to why their vote matters, and why they are going to be the reason why certain circumstances won't continue to happen, or as far as generational, how do I say it? A repeat of a cycle that just ongoing, because in their minds, nobody cares about them. And I feel like if we go into the communities and we actually talk to them and speak to their parents to see what their minds is at, we can also reach the younger generation. And that's why it's important for the younger generation to vote.
Thank you so much, Shamel. I really appreciate you.
Thank you.
Welcome to Naima segment on why voting is important. Can you please state your name for the people?
My name is Reginald Rice III.
And can you state your classification and major?
I am a computer science major senior.
Perfect. And did you vote this election?
I sure did.
And my first question is, why do you believe voting is important?
Well, I feel like voting is important in general because even if you're not originally from that country and you may not be all that involved in the community, all that stuff, but like that is where you live. And the people that govern where you live, have a say in basically what goes on in your daily life, and you don't really know exactly what goes on in that. So you should want to be present in the choices that get made about the things that happen around you. And so that way you can say that you decided as far as what you want in your community.
And lastly, Reginald, how do you think we can get our generation to vote more often in future elections?
It's not well, my take on that question is it's not really like as far as making them do anything, because at the end of the day, you can't make anybody really do anything. You know what I'm saying? When somebody puts up that I don't care barrier is in the third, you're like talking to a wall. But all we can do as, I won't say the elders, but the people before them, express to them the importance of voting. You know, that's all we can really do is express to them the importance of voting, and our ancestors who before them did not have that right and fought for that right, so that way we can have an influence on our communities to better our own, let's say, lives, our own communities and families. So as long as we stress that point to them, because it's gonna be a time when they gonna have kids, or they gonna have people younger than them that gonna need to know that they have to vote in order to get something better, not just for them though, you know what I'm saying? Not just for them. So that's all we can do is just stress the importance and make sure that they understand what it means to vote.
Absolutely. Well, Reginald, I thank you for your time. Thank you so much. And that concludes this video. Thank you all for watching, and hopefully you learned a little something from me and my colleagues. Thank you. Behold.